What up and welcome. The golden era. We've got a Vegas showdown for the NBA Cup final. Golden State Warriors, Chicago Bulls. Golden State in the middle of a brutal stretch. They're playing 4 games in a row. This is number 3 in a row. They just got done playing in New Orleans and in San Francisco. They have been struggling as of late. They are without Jonathan Kuminga, so a heavy workload expected on this Golden State Warriors squad, and Javon Roll and that man Deontay Dixon expected to be the guys that are forced to carry that load. It's Lynn Garner getting the start in place of Jonathan Kuminga, going up against a Chicago Bulls team, the number 1 team in the entire league. So Chicago is young. Dakota Motley right there. Javon Stokes, their star point guard. This is a team that has one of the best defenses in the entire league and is positioning themselves atop the Eastern Conference with a hope, an expectation, a belief that they're going to be contenders. As Joshua Chapman, the only player on this team that gets rotation minutes that's over 24 years old. He's 31 as Javon Roll gets the scoring going for the Warriors. Let's start with Chicago. What is up with Chicago? Well, Chicago's really freaking good. Number 1 team in the entire Eastern Conference. They are contending for a number 1 spot and the number 1 overall spot in the entire league. But the big question mark is the depth, the experience, the long-term, capabilities of this group, because the depth is there. They've got about 9 or 10 guys that they really like, as Javon Roll is rolling early here in this one, as Aaron Larson, their rookie from France, gets his first bucket to go. I'll tell you one thing as we talk about Chicago. Aaron Larson, one of those bench pieces. No, that's not a replay of the same play. Just gets to the hoop with ease. This is a Chicago team that's very reminiscent of Golden State back in their first championship season. Right, a group that's young, hasn't made a deep run, but they've got a ton of talent. Sound familiar? They can win an NBA championship. They've got scores up and down the roster. You've got Javon Stokes. You've got Dakota Motley. Here's Aiden Lucas, the big 6'7" monster feeding Javon Roll for the Golden State Warriors. The question for Chicago is they've never been here before. They've never won. They've never made a deep run. They made it to the conference semis last year. They lost eventually to Indiana. They were the number 4 seed. Indiana was the 8 seed on their way to a conference finals appearance. Here's Aaron Larson taking Jaheim Briggs. Nice dive inside. So the question for this group is going to be, can they win a championship? Can they make a deep run having not been there? I think it's a valid question. I think this man right there, Javon Stokes, is a reason why you would believe that they can win it. But having not been there before, I think there's going to be a lot of people that just don't pick them, regardless of who they get, regardless of how many wins they get. They're going to be the number 1 seed in the East. It seems that way. They've got talent up and down the roster, but until they get there, I think there's going to be some question marks. Speaking of question marks, Golden State, they have not been, as there's Cavante Kennard, the first-round pick a year ago, they have not been good as of late. Since the month of February turned over, we are March 23rd right now. Since the calendar turned to February, this team is 4 games below 500. They have not been very good all season, or rather, since that point. They're dealing with a couple pieces of drama. The first, Jonathan Kuminga has not been healthy. Kuminga's missed time separately twice with hip injuries. Deontay Dixon missed some time with a hip injury himself. So they haven't been healthy in the second half of the season. On top of that, they've got this drama, this uncomfortability, this unknown bubbling over top of them as Deontay Dixon buries home a 3 here late in the third quarter. Jonathan Kuminga is kind of frustrated by the fact that he's not the number 2 option anymore. He's not the number 1 option like he was at times. This is Deontay Dixon and Javon Roll's show. It's the first time in the last 9 seasons that Jonathan Kuminga has not made an All-Star game. He's not going to make an All-NBA team for the first time in 8 seasons. 8-time All-NBA, 8-time All-Star, first ballot Hall of Famer. I think 7-time NBA champion. Jonathan Kuminga is a guy that deserves to be atop the ladder, and he's kind of hanging over this thing saying, I wonder where my spot is on this team anymore. It's clearly moving over as Deontay Dixon drives in. That's what's looming over this team as we rock in and lock in for the fourth quarter. Getting stuff rolling is Rowan Jameson, his own putback. That goes. And we've got a competitive game in Vegas. Dump down. That's Russell Kingston Javon Roll has been red hot. He's not going to stay hot there as he can't get this to go. Every single bucket of the fourth quarter coming at you. Here's Rowan Jamison. He buries a triple, and Chicago, with under 7 minutes to go, takes the 1-point lead. Step back, Jalen House, triple. Buries in the answer, and the Golden State Warriors going back and forth here with the Chicago Bulls. Here's Jamison trying to drive on Roll. Tough bucket, won't get it to go. Pushed out by Javon Roll. 16 seconds on the shot clock. He gets a double team, goes through it, through the contact, and Javon Roll pushes the lead to 5. Here's Aaron Larson, step back, midi. Aaron Larson, for a rookie, has been balling, and he's got the Bulls back within 3. Jalen House, a couple pin down screens, hand down, man down. Jalen House can't make them pay, and the lead stays at 3. Double team underneath, not a good call as Kyrie Law puts it back to 1. Here comes Branko Todorovic, kick out. Javon Roll to the corner for Jalen House. A little pin down screen action, trying to free Caden Dickerson, and the veteran buries the triple as Golden State pushes back to 4. Here's Aaron Larson going to work against the smaller Jalen House, blocked from behind, I believe, by Todorovic. Todorovic up top. Screen there from Kingston, finds the rolling big man, and he softly lays it up and in, and it's a 6-point game halfway through the fourth quarter. Tough attempt, and the defense for the Warriors was locking down, but Dakota Motley can't get the second shot to fall, so Golden State, chance to push here. Lynn Garner late, shot clock won't go. Offensive board, Russell Kingston can't get it to go. And the Bulls now needing a bucket. They've been quiet. Deontay Dixon back in. Dakota Motley up top. Pavel Nikolic won't fall. Deontay Dixon with the screen here from Javon Roll. You got to love that two-man combination. Roll and Dixon, though Javon Roll can't make them pay. We've got a little bit of an extended, quiet moment, and the Bulls won't extend it any longer. Here comes Javon Roll. Screen from Kingston. Inside to Kingston. Easy. 2 points. And with 2 minutes left, the lead has ballooned to 8, needing a bucket. Javon Stokes can't provide it. The Bulls' offense has gone mute in the fourth quarter. Chance to put things away. Kick out, roll, open, buries the triple. And it's up to a 12-point game, largest lead of the game for anybody. And it's desperation moments here for the Bulls, trying to get something. Deontay Dixon hounded on the defensive end. And now we've just got 1 minute left of what's all just going to be cosmetic. Step back jumper from Javon Roll won't go. Late shot clock trying to bring the clock down. Here's Dakota Motley, kicks out. Nikolic for the triple. And the lid has been squarely on the hoop here for the Bulls. And not so much for the Golden State Warriors as Russell Kingston, the offensive board. And that's going to wrap this thing up in Las Vegas. In need of a big win, the Golden State Warriors are going to get one thanks to the superb play of Javon Roll, the player of the game and the MVP of the NBA Cup final. Really a much-needed win for Golden State. They needed Javon Roll to play well. He gets to the line 16 times, which we'll review in a second. 48 points. This is a vintage Javon Roll night. 8 triples. They raised the crown, and it's a momentum-needing game for the Golden State Warriors. Struggling for a while. We'll see if this thing can turn it around for them. And that's our NBA Cup final. The Golden State Warriors in the midst of a little bit of a struggle to get their pull-off a victory in Las Vegas over the number 1 team in the NBA, the Chicago Bulls. Our final 130-111. Dakota Motley, the leading scorer for the Bulls. It's Javon Roll with a huge night. Gets 8 triples to go. Deontay Dixon, an efficient night. 31 combined free throws for the Golden State Warriors between their 2 stars. That carries them a great first 3 quarters, and then Golden State pulls away in the fourth. They shoot just fantastically from deep, 49%, and then obviously that 36 of 39, just a huge number. The Warriors, they haven't been able to attack the paint that well with this team. That's been kind of their big issue, but when they get to the free throw line that many times, a 30-point difference in points in the paint really does not matter for this squad as they get the big win. Again, 48 points from Javon Roll in Las Vegas in the NBA Cup. But this is part of just a absolutely brutal stretch as we're going to fast forward to March 26th. Golden State, 4 straight. I don't know who decided this. If we look at the standings right now for the NBA Cup, I don't know why they did this. There's only 2 groups, 32 teams in the NBA. They decided, let's just do conference by conference. And that's how you get the Bulls and the Warriors, and that's how you get a tournament bracket that saw one game. One game only. That's the Warriors beating the Bulls in one game. I mean, that's just, it's a little disappointing, if we're being honest. But this is even more disappointing. We waited until March 23rd to have the championship game. I don't know what the league is thinking with this new format. And then the Warriors have to play 4 straight games. I mean, this is a baseball schedule for this team to close it out. I don't know how they're managing wins here, but you're looking at 4 straight games. You're looking at 6 games in 8 nights. They haven't had 2 days off in a row since March 5th, and it's showing. Team won 4 straight. Golden State then loses 4 in a row to Seattle. Not even a close one. 135-111. The Clippers, the Rockets, who are charging, and the Venom, they did put together 2 nice wins over the Sonics and the Celtics to get to where they are. But this is concerning. And why is it concerning? Because in this game, Golden State loses Javon Roll to another hip injury. So this is the 3rd star of this Warriors team to go down. I don't know who it is in the Warriors training staff that doesn't know how to handle hip injuries, but this is a 3rd hip injury to a star. He's going to miss time, and it's coming at maybe the worst time. This is the gauntlet of the stretch coming up for the Golden State Warriors. 3 weeks of just postseason basketball. Every team that they're playing outside of the Grizzlies twice and the Clippers, every single team is a playoff or play-in team. Now, you get the games against Seattle and Boston out of the way. You like this one at home, again, on the end of a 4-straighter, and then at Boston, you come back home now for a little bit of a stretch. This is going to be a tough finish for Golden State, and they're going to need it. Take a look at the playoff picture right now. Golden State has tumbled all the way to the 5 spot. Golden State has not been a non-top 4 team. Really hasn't been a non-top 3 team since 2023, when Steph Curry missed much of the season with injuries. They came back as the 6th seed, ended up winning the NBA championship over the Miami Heat to capture their 2nd straight over the Kevin Durant Miami Heat. But that's how long it's been here in 2035 since the Golden State Warriors haven't had home court advantage in the first round. It's probably very likely they don't. And why is that? Because this team, this has been the big talk of it. They just don't have depth, right? Behind Deontay Dixon and Javon Roll, Kuminga's finally back, but you just don't have the number of guys that you can rely on in the rotation right now. They're going to Jaheim Briggs. That 9-man rotation compared to other teams, particularly if you look at the Sonics, a really solid starting 8-9. You look at the Oklahoma City Thunder, maybe the deepest group in their starting. Really, you're going to Wade Cantor Medley as your top 8, and that's your playoff rotation. The Sacramento Kings, outside of Savion Cason, who might not be elite, but he's still a really, really good player for the Kings, shooting there at 36% on the season. This team rolls deep. The Timberwolves, with the addition of Jacob Kuksix, roll deep, right? Golden State doesn't, and that's going to be the big question mark for this team down the stretch run. Can they, one, stay healthy, because they haven't been able to do that with all 3 of their stars playing consistently. That has not happened. So that's question mark number 1. Question mark number 2 is, can they get any type of production from the bottom half of this rotation? Particularly, can they get production out of anybody that can take the ball off the bounce? Dele Bagley could be a guy that takes it off the bounce. He hasn't really been given a ton of minutes, but he's a decent playmaker with the ball in his hands. Really quick, but he's a rookie. He does not get into the paint and finish all that well against size, despite coming in at 6'3". You look at his shot chart. 38%. Low volume, let's give him credit for that, but 38% on shots within 6 feet of the rim, and it doesn't get much better when you go 6 to 10. Not a huge workload for the rookie. It's been very interesting. The head coach, Chris Adams, again, if you remember, Steve Kerr retired midway through last season. Chris Adams took over. He has not trusted Dele Bagley for big minutes really throughout the season. That 6 to 14 range has been where Bagley's been, and then out of nowhere he gets 30, 9 points, 2 boards, 4 assists, 3 steals, 2 blocks. Fills up the stat sheet, might be earning his way into big minutes. The Warriors, though, they got to find something. They got to find some other option outside of Dixon. Bagley could be the one, somebody besides those two, to get into the paint. They cannot get into the paint right now as a team. Caden Dixon can't go off the bounce that well. Kingston's good, but he needs somebody to finish with him. Lynn Gardner's a stretch 4-5 kind of guy. And then your other option is Branko Todorovic, second-round pick a year ago. He's been up and down all season long. There's just not a lot of trust that you can have in this team right now. But what am I looking for? What am I looking for the closing March? This top four is going to be interesting. I think that's the big story in the Western Conference because it matters, right? It matters right here what positioning you get because somebody's going to have to play one of the Lakers, Spurs, Suns, Jazz, and Rockets, which we'll get to in a second. But the other person might have to play the Golden State Warriors. The West is a gauntlet. Where this seeding wraps up, I think is going to be really interesting to see. That's part one. We've talked about these tiers in the Western Conference. This one is, I got a question. If the Suns or Jazz miss the postseason, which it's not impossible to do, right? The Venom are hanging back there. They're just a game and a half back of the Jazz, game back of the Suns. Does Jacoby Cleaves ask out? Does your 27-year-old star, who's kind of had a bad season for his standards, I mean, he was a 27-point-per-game scorer last year. He hasn't been that this year. Does he ask out? Do you make some type of move to get like a Carson Hughes out the door? Because Hughes, as great as a scorer he is, 44%, just an absolute liability on the defensive end. And that's what this Phoenix team has really been lacking. They have not found ways to be competent on the defensive side of the ball. That's why they went out and they got Alfonso Harrell to add a little bit of some post and perimeter defense. That's where Harrell is really at his best, just a switchable defender. He was that key piece of a championship team for the Golden State Warriors. They need something. And the panic meter has to be going off right now in Phoenix. You have to be looking and say, if we don't make the playoffs, if we just straight up miss the play-in tournament, there's going to be something on the horizon because Cleaves sits there. He's an MVP. He's an all-NBA talent, and he's going to have 1 year left on his deal. And he's going to sit there and look around the landscape and say, this is what I've got to play next to a 32-year-old Cade Cunningham and a 33-year-old Anthony Edwards, who you just gave a massive raise to, who's had a nice season here at age 33. They aren't bad, but what type of signaling do the Suns make? I think you have to look at moving Carson Hughes, because if you're projecting long-term for the Phoenix Suns and you're saying, what can we play with next to Jacoby Cleaves? I don't know that Carson Hughes is the number two. Offensively, he's fantastic, but the fact that he just cannot hold his own on the defensive side of the ball, to me, and again, you're staring at a little bit of room next season, right, with that 33 and it's expiring. Phoenix, to me, is a team that you circle Jacoby Cleaves. Is he going to be available? Is he going to want to come back to Phoenix, the team that he just took to the NBA Finals? Or is he going to ask out? Or is he going to say, I'm not re-signing, in the same way that we'll talk about Jalen Justice last year, right, on his expiring deal, told the Toronto Raptors, man, I'm not saying I'm not coming back, but I'm not signing. And Toronto said, then we're not dealing with this, and they traded him away. They lost Ezekiel Morrow. Jalen Justice traded to Utah. Phoenix could be staring down a very similar situation right now. A good basketball team, but one that can't get over the hump in a very deep Western Conference because of their lack of perimeter defense. Carson Hughes can ball, man. Carson Hughes can absolutely hoop. But the problem with Hughes is if he gives you 33, he might be got for 35 on the other end and you're still -2. He might give you 28, but he might get got for 24 and you're only +4, right? That's the problem with Carson Hughes, particularly in a Western Conference that's got Alshon Webb, who's a 52% scorer inside, who's got the Oklahoma City Thunder and Tobias Bell, the Sacramento Kings and Tyrese Alston, the Timberwolves, Jacob Cuxix, welcome back to the Western Conference, the Golden State Warriors, when healthy, Javon Roll, the Los Angeles Lakers, Kareem Robinson, the San Antonio Spurs, Sidney Cross. Where are you hiding Carson Hughes, who is a 6'3", 180, diminutive point guard in today's era? Where are you hiding him defensively in the Western Conference? You're not. So does Phoenix really believe that they can take this team with Jacoby Cleaves as a centerpiece and say, Carson Hughes, you're our number 2? Carson Hughes hasn't been the number 2. He's been the number 3 or number 4 last season when Marquise Hightower was in town. It's been Cade Cunningham as the number 2. He's 32. He's going to have probably 2 to 3 seasons of really good basketball. But you know what? Cade Cunningham is not. He's not a small forward. You want to be playing Cade Cunningham at 6'6" at the point position, because then you start to put that defensive question mark on the other side. Because as good as the rest of the Western Conference, all those point guards, those elite guards that we just talked about, they're not 6'6" like Cade Cunningham is. And so Phoenix has a chance to be mismatched, where they played Cunningham last season as the 2 next to Carson Hughes. But when you lose Malik Hightower, Marquise, the rookie in Philadelphia, you have no way to replace him, and that's what you're left with, and that's what Phoenix is dealing with. So if they miss, if they keep tumbling out and either end up on the 9-10 side and have to play Houston or Utah and not the San Antonio Spurs, which it seems likely, or the Los Angeles Lakers, 1 win, you're in as a 2 seed, if they fall there and they get bounced, the ramifications in Phoenix, and then Utah. What happens if Jalen Justice asks out, right? If he doesn't re-sign, the multiple-time MVP, the NBA Finals MVP in Toronto, if Jalen Justice says, look, man, this didn't work. This lineup that you guys had, there's pieces of it that make sense, right? Patrick Morris Sr. makes sense. Julius Walker is a good interior presence, but he can't stretch the floor. They've tried to add another wing. It's been very difficult. If I can't work next to Darius Dixon and I can bounce, and you know who I could bounce to? I don't know, a New York Knicks squad that's going to have max salary cap space this summer, and you've got Louis Morgan and Ezekiel Morrow in place. If that's the outlet and they miss the postseason for Utah, I don't know that Jalen Justice is coming back. I don't know that you can convince him to come back. And if that happens, what happens to Darius Dixon? Maybe the best 2 guard in the entire NBA. Does he walk out the door? Does he say, yeah, I just signed a deal, but you guys got to make something, because I'm not very happy being a missing the playoff or first-round exit team, which they've been in his time in Utah. And don't forget, the Golden State Warriors, who could be getting desperate, who will have Deontay Dixon, his twin brother, sitting there. They've got Jonathan Kuminga as a potential piece that they could move. Of course, there was the rumors around the All-Star break. Kuminga wasn't super happy. They've got Dallas's first-round pick next season. They've got New Orleans pick this year, which is top 10 protected. And right now, the New Orleans Pelicans are sitting in very much on the cusp of if that pick's going to convey or not. If that moves to next season and it's an unprotected first, the Golden State Warriors can go to the trade market with a Mavericks first-round pick, with a Pelicans first-round pick. And it's tough to really forecast either of these 2 teams. There's your lineup for the Pelicans. There's your lineup for the Mavs. It's difficult to envision any of them entering the reign of this top 9, plus Houston, who has Dede McDyess on a rookie deal playing great, who has Darnell Gist, who's been an all-NBA center. I mean, maybe the second best season of a center this year behind only Abiz Ojale. Those picks are going to have value. Does Utah look at this group and say, you know what? We'll take 2 first-round picks. Might not get Darius Dixon, but if he's not going to be happy, is there an off-ramp to add some pieces? I'm not saying that's the route. I'm not ever going to be an advocate for just dumping pieces and trying to rebuild. But for Utah and Phoenix, it seems very much in play that if you miss the postseason, you have to go to, and I think maybe even more so for Phoenix, you got to go to your 27-year-old star, you got to go to your 24-year-old star and say, maybe it didn't work out as much as we wanted to. That's going to be interesting over the last 2.5 weeks of the NBA season. The Eastern Conference rather. What's of interest? Pay attention to this. We know Chicago's number 1. Milwaukee and Charlotte are definitely going to be 5 and 6. Positioning here matters, but those are definitely going to be your 4. It seems like Orlando will end up as a 7 seed. There's good names on these teams, but there's not a lot of depth. But what happens in the 2 through 4? Because that's going to matter, right? You get the 2 spot, and you get one of Orlando, who has no defense, and who Jalen Green is currently out with an injury. If he's not healthy by the time the postseason rolls around, which he's expected to come back. Oh, I lied. He's not coming back. Torn meniscus for Jalen Green. So Orlando is just a walking carcass of what they were a season ago. You're going to get them potentially as the 2, or you could get a Cleveland Cavaliers squad that sits and only really boasts Jair Dooling as a valuable piece on this roster with a 19-point-per-game score. Maybe Miami, who doesn't have Cameron Sullivan, their star center, who's out with a torn Achilles, so he's not playing this season. they've been just really bad around John Morant. Or maybe you get the Knicks would be your 8 seed, and that's going to be headed up to probably play the Chicago Bulls. So that's your value at number 2. If you end up at 3 or 4, you're playing either the Bucks or the Hornets, and the Hornets are rolling with Shane Ruffin. I mean, this is a brutally deep team right now, and Milwaukee, who has been red hot since Dwayne Qualls walked back into the lineup, he's been torching. Luka Doncic has been having a great season at age 36. That's the value right now for those 2 through 4. Where are you going to end up? You want to be 2, because you don't want to play the Bucks. You don't want to play the Hornets. You want to play Orlando. You want to play the Cavs, the Heat, the Knicks, one of those teams here in the final conclusion of the season. That's where we're at. We got 3 weeks. 3 weeks left. The Warriors are struggling, cannot stay healthy. The Magic, the defending champs, seem out of it, and the Jazz and the Suns have potentially massive question marks looming over their season as we wrap it up. We got the postseason preview coming up next. Probably one more broadcasted game with the Golden State Warriors as they try to figure out their final seeding in the postseason. We'll catch you next time right here on the Golden Era.